I was in a place of, I've been doing a lot of exploring of more dating situations that I had in many years. And I was just finding a lot of really wildly powerful insecurity coming up in situations where it didn't feel appropriate necessarily to the situation, but I couldn't do anything about it. And so I was really feeling small and kind of like haunted by insecurity that I felt like, I don't need to be having this experience, but I couldn't just like talk myself out of it. I had understood intellectually where they came from, and what had been kind of frustrating was not being able to just have that knowledge solve the problem. And what I discovered is that there are a lot of old feelings that I have about abandonment and like anger about that and grief about that and other things that I really, I think I needed to actually carve out some space to feel them. And we were able to start doing that. I mean, of course, the retreat was only 3 days, so it's kind of like it's a start, but now I understand how to experience that because I experienced it in a safe container. And I think I did big work at moving some big things around by doing that practice with other people because it wasn't something that I knew how to do. We would get a prompt and then work with that movement wise, that doing that initial work of like, I'm just going to experience this in my body, take this prompt, think about your worst abandonment fear, maybe would be one of them. That one was a big one for me. Work with that in my body to see what it feels like to move that, and then let the emotion come up because I wasn't trying to speak, which, I wasn't trying to tell someone about my experience right then. I was just doing the movement piece, letting it be. I knew that would be the right thing to do, but I'd never been able to like bring it in and let it be there, because my adaptive skills are really strong and I have decades of experience of not doing that. It's very hard to unlearn that or just like make yourself feel feelings. I needed to get things moving, and it was the prompts that did that. And then the other thing that was really powerful was with that specific one, abandonment. There was a time when that prompt, I gave an example to the room and you mirrored it, and seeing you do that movement in a really powerful way, in a way that felt very gutsy to me in a space around other people, was also actually a lesson about vulnerability that gave me more permission to be more creative and expansive with what I was even letting in for myself. And then I guess the last thing would be, in terms of what facilitated me to feel, is actually the other people in the group, because there were some people in the group who were it felt to me like had such great access to themselves and to movement. And so I felt like that was being modeled for me in a lot of different ways around me, and people were discovering things and I could see that happening. And that was sort of encouraging without at the same time actually not knowing what anybody was working on in themselves necessarily. But just the feeling that that was happening for people. Yeah, I noticed an immediate upgrade in my ability to be vulnerable around other people. Like just immediately I was like, oh, I feel more open and less defended in my interactions with other people, especially in intimacy contexts. Like I was like, oh, yeah, I don't have this layer of body noise between me and other people right now in the same degree. That felt like a very immediate sort of reward for doing the work. I feel like I understand some new things about myself, and I feel like we're in a good place. And I have more trust in my ability to have it be okay to just have difficult stuff come up. And there's the big level stuff, of course, that I was working on, but also just like day to day, I'm doing less to talk myself out of irritation or, whatever in the moment, and not being as controlling with my inner self, but sort of treating myself internally the way that I want to treat other people in relationships, which is, 100% consent based, and being allowing and being attuned. That's how I want to treat other people, and that's how I want to treat myself. I think my favorite part was was actually probably just hanging around and eating with everybody. All the different conversations that came up with people. There was such an amazing group of people, which I kind of knew in theory to expect, but then it turned out to be just this sort of like jewel box of people who are all really complex, really interesting, but also were very different from me, and all very easy to find common ground with and find stuff that was interesting to talk about. Yeah, I just loved meeting everybody. I think this was the safest feeling experience of this kind, of being with a group of people, that I have been to. And I've been to a lot of different kinds of retreats and trainings and other things like that. The container that you guys created was really thoughtfully done. And we had the opportunity before we even got there to start getting a sense of each other and getting a sense of what it was going to feel like. So, you know, we didn't arrive cold. We arrived already feeling well taken care of. And then that kind of set the tone for the whole thing. And I just thought that was like so beautifully done. And I mean, we had some folks in the group who at different points were like, oh, this is really tough for me. And, you know, they were able to do what they needed to do as far as stepping away for a period of time and then coming back or whatever it was. But it seemed over and over again like people were able to get what they needed by speaking up and then return to the group pretty quickly, sometimes sooner than they thought they would be able to. So to me, it felt like this is a place where everybody can be themselves, and the group and the environment is made such that all of us were able to come back. It also was a lot more fun than I was expecting, because I was like, okay, this is going to be, you know, people will be like, what are you doing in Spain? And I'd be like, it's a trauma processing retreat, you know.
We'll have no fun.
But it was fun, but it wasn't like enforced fun, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of put that down to you and Dedeker too. Like, I think like both of you, and you in particular, like your sense of whimsy and all that, like really keeps the balloon in the air, you know? Which I really appreciate. I made a little bit of an assumption going in that when you get 20 poly people together in a multi-day retreat that touches on therapy topics, there's going to be some high maintenance folks and some drama. That wasn't true at all. And I think that was down to who was there, but who was there was a product of y'all's vetting process. So yeah, and people would refer to their personal drama and it would come into the room for them, and it still did not come off onto other people. I mean, that was really amazing. That was like the number one thing I reported when I went home, was people were like, how was that? And I was like, actually, everybody was amazing and nothing weird happened.